Okay, welcome to anatomy. Okay, now we're going to go into the actual course. I know this is pre-recorded. Okay, so you guys can not sit around listening. Because I know from 6 to 10, there's a lot going on, especially for families with kids and stuff. They need to go to bed, etc., etc. So you guys can play this recording whenever you want. All the information will be on here. Okay, and so let's proceed with chapter 1. Okay, so chapter 1 is intro to anatomy. So let's go. PowerPoint. Getting. Okay, so anatomy is the study of the structure of the human body. Okay, it is where everything is. Okay, so like where some of the bones are, where some of the muscles are, where nerves are, etc., etc. Physiology is the study of body function, and these two things actually go hand in hand, right? So the structure tells you what the physiology is able to do. The physiology tells you what the structure should do. Okay, so the subdisciplines of anatomy. Okay, we will focus primarily on gross anatomy, and we will learn gross anatomy by the means of systemic anatomy, going through each system at a time instead of regional anatomy, which is you just study you take a week and you study the arm and you learn all the muscles and all the nerves and all the bones in the arm. Okay. Surface anatomy, the study of the surface of the human body. Okay, what muscles can you see? What muscles can you not see? Etc. Etc. Okay. Microscopic anatomy is also known as histology. Okay, and that is the primary focus of chapter 2. No, chapter 4. Sorry. Okay. The other branches of anatomy, developmental anatomy and embryology, that's chapter 3. For the most part, we'll skip it. We'll come back to it at the end of the course. Okay, so after you learn where everything is, then you can learn how things develop. Okay, hopefully, generally, most of you guys are going into nursing or involved in some form of healthcare. Okay, out of the 5 years I've been teaching, only like a small handful needed to study anatomy for other things. One which was he just wanted to learn how to draw the human body better, so which was kind of cool. But learning anatomy generally is a precursor to learning pathology. Okay, and radiographic anatomy. So pathology is what happens when things go wrong. So to understand how things go wrong, you have to know what things look like when they are right. And then you can go on to what happens when things go wrong. So pathology and pathophys. Okay? Okay. Okay, anatomy is based on ancient Greek and Latin. The ancient Romans, for the most part, were the first people to actually discover anatomy and actually make it a science. Okay, and honestly, this was based on the study of gladiators. After they suffer injuries or after they die, they study exactly what went wrong. Okay, and because they were the first people to really study it, they were the first people to name stuff, and so a lot of names got stuck in Greek and Latin, and they still haven't changed. But the good part of that is that it provides a standard nomenclature worldwide. Okay, so I can talk about the biceps brachii here, and you guys will probably recognize that name as the muscle in the arm. Okay, but I can use the term biceps brachii in China. I can use the term biceps brachii in Russia or Scandinavia or any other country, and they will understand what it means, because the whole anatomy is taught in the same Latin. Okay, to help you guys with this, there is a file called root words. Okay, and the root words will show up on your lecture quizzes and lecture exams. Okay, for example, lecture quiz 1 will have the first the first column of root words. Lecture exam 1 will have the second column of root words. Okay, and the way I'll test you guys on that is simply matching. Okay, all right. So the hierarchy of structural organizations. Okay, so here are the structural organizations. Okay, I'm gonna cover the previous couple of slides on this slide. Okay, so atoms form molecules. Okay, molecules form bigger molecules. So here's hemoglobin. Okay, these bigger molecules come together to form cellular components. Okay, and ultimately a cell. A cell is made out of or many cells together make a tissue. So another way of putting it, a tissue is made from many cells. Okay, a organ is made from the 4 different types of tissue, okay, that we'll get into. Okay, and organs combine together to form organ systems. Okay, organ systems combine together to form the human organism. Okay. Okay, so this slide, I need you guys to understand the order of what these things are. Okay, what's bigger than what, what's made out of what, etc. Okay, like for example, tissues are made out of what, and the answer will be cells. Okay, a organ system is made out of different organs. Like for example, a organ system is your digestive tract. Your digestive tract consists of your esophagus, your mouth, your stomach, your small intestine, your large intestine, your pancreas, etc., etc. Okay, and these work together to help you digest. Okay. Okay. The entanglement. Okay. The integumentary system forms the external body covering. Okay, it protects the deeper tissues from injury. Okay, it synthesizes vitamin D. So entanglement is your skin. Okay, one of the most important things to do to keep you alive is your skin keeping the outside world on the outside. Okay, I know that sounds really kind of dumb, but that's really, 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 really important. Okay, it keeps all the viruses and bacteria and all the other chemicals that don't belong in the human body on the outside. Okay. Okay. Because it's also on the outside, okay, it's also the site of a lot of cutaneous receptors. So to sense the outside world, pain, pressure, okay, heat, temperature, okay, and other stuff are all receptors that are on the outside. Okay. In addition, we have sweat glands and oil glands that secrete to the outside. Okay. Okay, the skeletal system. The skeletal system protects and supports body organs. It provides a framework for muscles. Okay, so the way the skeletal system works, okay, our skeleton protects our vital organs. So you see my head here, right? So my head obviously has a lot of bone. That bone is supporting the structure inside the brain. Okay, right here, okay, I have bones here in my ribs, and they're obviously protecting my heart, okay, and my lungs to the side here. Okay, they also provide a framework for muscles. So the finger wagging and moving that I'm doing here is only possible because I have bones, and those bones are connected to muscles that are pulling on the bones. In fact, when I'm doing this, this muscle right here is pulling on this bone and bring it down. Okay. All right. Now, next thing. Okay. The muscular system. The muscular system allows for manipulation of the environment, so I can pick up my little cup. Okay. I can pick up my soda. Okay. I can walk around. I can make different facial expressions. I can maintain postures. For example, my back muscles are working, holding me up while I'm doing this. Okay. I can also produce heat. Okay, as I move. So if you walk around the room, you're going to be a lot warmer than you are when you're sitting. And the reason is because when you walk around the room, your muscles move. And as they move, they generate a lot of heat. And that heat keeps you warm. Okay? Okay. The nervous system is a fast-acting control system that responds to internal and external changes. Okay? If I was in class at one of you guys, I would have fired my eraser at one of you guys, and hopefully you guys would have caught it. Usually they do. And I would have not said anything when I threw it, okay? But you guys can catch it, and usually within a second, okay? So in that second, you guys had to realize that an eraser was coming out of your head, and the best way to get out of the way is to catch it, okay? And so you guys had to process all that, track the eraser flying through the air with your eyes, use your hands to time it, to catch it, etc., etc. All of that requires really, really fast microsecond control because that happened in less than a second. Okay, so fast acting control system. Okay, the internal and external changes. A lot of people are aware of external changes, differences in light, differences in sound, differences in temperature, etc., etc. But we take just as much attention to the internal system. Okay, we just don't talk about it as much. How fast your heart is beating, how much sugars are in the bloodstream, are you in pain internally? Is there enough calcium in your bloodstream? Is there enough blood in your bloodstream? Okay, etc., etc. Okay, all right. Endocrine system. Okay, so here, again, if I was in class, I would pretend to go up to one of you guys, usually a female, and inject you guys with a huge bolus of testosterone. And, I will ask, oh, okay, so what's going to happen to this person? And it'll be like, okay, yes. The usual answers are, he gets bigger, she gets bigger and stronger, she develops a deeper voice, etc. More facial hair, and all these are true. Okay, and which is great, but it doesn't happen overnight. Okay, the endocrine system controls things that happen on a scale of minutes, okay, hours, but even more days, months, years. Okay, so they're the slow moving control system. Okay, they control more global processes, growth, reproduction, nutrient use. Okay. Okay, the cardiovascular system. Okay, blood vessels transport blood. Okay, so blood does a lot of different things. Blood, not only does it transport oxygen, I'm sure like most grade school students know that blood transports oxygen, but in addition to oxygen, it also transports carbon dioxide, that is actually the more important thing, gas it actually transports. You need to get rid of the carbon dioxide in your body, because if that builds up, you go into acidosis and die. Okay, so it also transports nutrients and waste. Again, the wastes need to be constantly, filtered out of the cells and into the blood, where it's actually filtered out of the kidneys or to the lungs. Okay, so you can get rid of that. In fact, one of the things about blocking off a blood vessel that causes cells to die is called ischemia. Ischemia is much worse than hypoxia, just losing oxygen. And the reason why is because the more important thing for the blood to do is to get rid of the waste. Okay, the heart pumps the blood through the blood vessels. Okay, that I'm sure most people already know. Okay. 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 The lymphatic system. Okay. We talked about the cardiovascular system just a second ago. So the lymphatic system actually works with the cardiovascular system. Okay. I'm sure you guys don't know this, but your blood vessels are designed to be a little bit leaky, especially these things called capillaries. The smallest little tubes are called capillaries. And capillaries are designed to leak fluid. Okay. And that leaking is what supplies the tissue with oxygen and sugars. Okay, but if something leaks, that means there has to be a drain somewhere. Okay, to return the fluid to the body, because you're not having blood just leak out of you, right? So that leakage has to drain into something, and that into something has to eventually return it to the blood. Okay, so that is the lymphatic system. The lymphatic system picks up the fluid leaked out of the blood vessels and then returns it to the cardiovascular system. Okay, but while it does that, it disposes of the debris, okay, in the lymphatic system. There are viruses in that fluid, there are bacteria in the fluid, there's pollen and stuff in that fluid, okay? And that fluid is called lymph, okay? And what the lymph flows around in, it meets a whole bunch of white blood cells, and white blood cells are your immune system. And so your body can mount an attack against the foreign substances in the body, okay? All right, I'm gonna stop this for a second. Okay, I'm back. So, without further ado, so, sorry. Okay, the next thing, respiratory system. The respiratory system keeps the blood supplied with oxygen. Okay, we breathe in oxygen, we breathe out carbon dioxide. This occurs in the lungs. Digestive system, okay? The digestive system breaks the food down into absorbable units. So whenever I eat something, I will chew, I will use my stomach to churn, I will digest the food in my intestines, but that's not enough. Okay, it doesn't do you any good to just digest stuff. You also have to absorb the nutrients. Okay, after you absorb the nutrients, whatever doesn't get absorbed, okay, gets eliminated as feces. Okay. Okay. The urinary system eliminates nitrogenous waste. Okay, as we eat and as we break down stuff, as we use proteins and stuff for our uses, we end up with a lot of nitrogen in our system in the form of ammonia, and that becomes toxic. So what happens is our body turns the ammonia into urea. Okay, but the urea is also toxic, just less so. Okay, so we eventually have to get rid of it, and that's the nitrogenous waste, and that's filtered out in our kidneys. But because our kidneys are so good, like right now, you guys are all sitting there watching this. About 20% of your blood right now is actually going to your kidneys. Okay, your kidneys probably filter all your entire blood volume within 10 minutes. Okay, to get rid of the nitrogen. Okay, so you go kidney failure, the waste build up very, very quickly. Okay, but in addition to this, your urinary system also regulates the amount of water you have in your bloodstream. Okay, so blood pressure, your electrolytes, how much salt you have, the acids and bases in your bloodstream. Okay. Okay. The last one is the male and female reproductive system. The male and female reproductive system, the overall function is to reproduce offspring. Okay, the testes produce sperm and the male sex hormones, the ovaries produce eggs and the female sex hormones. Okay, so this is the one system that's very, very different between males and males and females have different reproductive strategies. Okay, so the males just produce semen, okay, and sperm, and it deposits inside the female. The female has to receive the sperm, let it fertilize the egg, and then nourish the developing embryo, and eventually give birth. And even after birth, they have to, have mammary glands to feed the baby. Okay? Okay. So we'll skip this slide. Okay. Okay. We'll pick this up in the part 2 of this lecture. So I want to keep these things a little short so you guys can watch one at a time. All right. So unless they're really short chapters, there's usually only 2 parts. Okay. So this is the end of part 1.